All rise.
The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Good morning. Welcome. Court officer, can you please call the case?
This is file number KSCBC 2020-04, the Specialist Prosecutor versus Bader Shala.
Thank you. First of all, I kindly ask parties and victims' counsel to indicate who is present today in court. You have the floor, Specialist Prosecutor's Office.
Good morning, Your Honours. This morning for the OSPO, we have Alex Whiting, Acting Specialist Prosecutor. We have Giulia Bianchi, Legal Expert, Line Pedersen, our Case Manager, Gaia Pergolo, Filippo De Minicis, and myself, Eva Wieler, Associate Prosecutors.
Thank you. Victims' counsel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honours, and good morning. I'm Simon Laws, appearing for the victims in this case, together with my co-counsel, Maria Radziowska.
Thank you. Defence counsel, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Your Honour. We are here with Mr. Shala from the detention center. I hail him by video link. I am here with my co-counsel, Ms. Kariolu, Leto Kariolu, Mr. Edi Awini, my case manager, Ms. Petrovica, Zeneta Petrovica, an evidence review assistant, two evidence review assistants, I think so, Judith Colby, and Semshi Temshi, and Matthias Langley, who is an intern. This is the same team than yesterday. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Very well. Mr. Shala, can you confirm that you hear me?
Yes, I do hear you, Your Honor.
We will continue today with the cross-examination by the defense of witness 10. We will sit again in three regular sessions of 1.5 hours, twice a break of 30 minutes and a regular lunch break of 1.5 hours. Before we start with the testimony, I would like to ask Mr. Court Officer to bring us into private session so that the panel can hear the SPOs respond to the 2 points raised by the defense yesterday about being put on notice regarding the allegations in the confirmed indictment. And those were addressed also in private session. And for the record, it's page 105, lines 18 and 19 of the provisional transcript of the 1st of May of 2023. Mr. Court Officer, can you briefly bring us into private session?
We're in private session, Your Honours.
Thank you. Mr. Prosecutor.
Good morning, Your Honours. We'll be brief. The prosecution has pleaded with sufficient specificity its case, both with regard to the alleged members of the joint criminal enterprise and with regard to the conduct of the accused, as was confirmed by the appeals chamber in its decision IA KSC BC 2020-04, IA 004 F00008. And I would like to bring Your Honour's attention specifically to paragraphs 15 to 21 of that decision. Now, yesterday's questions to the witness about his previous statements, and I want to make that clear because it might happen again, were done simply for the sake of clarity and transparency. There are some differences. We wanted to clarify them for the benefit of the panel and for the benefit of the truth-seeking process in this trial. There is another remark that the defense made about concerning paragraph 31 of the pretrial brief, where they claimed the prosecution was not clear as to the nature of its case. I invite Your Honours to read paragraphs 32 and 33 of the pretrial brief. Your Honours will see that there is really no need for further clarification on that matter. The paragraph 31 concerns the arrest of 4733, who we stated was arrested with other people. Paragraphs 32 and 33 concern the arrest of trial witness 1. So we do not think there is the need to provide any extra clarity on that matter. The defense made other submissions concerning evidence which is yet to be heard in this trial, concerning results of their own investigations. It's premature. We will not address these submissions. That they will be able to cross-examine our witnesses, put on their defense case if they so wish. So at this time, we have no further submissions in response.
Thank you, Mr. Prosecutor. Counsel, do you wish to reply?
Good morning, Your Honor. Our request remains the same. We believe these are material facts. If the prosecutor knows the specific name of the named member of the GCE, we need to know it specifically. It's not the results of our investigation, it's the impact on the way we conduct our investigations that is at stake with that point. And the other question about the protected witness is we need clarity whether the case of the prosecutor is that Mr. Shala wrote him or not. I don't think the references given by my learned colleague answer that with the sufficient specificity, and we believe this is a very important material fact. If the prosecutor knows, and it seems he does, what his case is about this, then he should specifically say it before we hear the evidence of witnesses, so we know the specific allegation we need to respond to. Otherwise, we will be in the fog regarding what is the purpose. That's why we intervened yesterday, asking whether the purpose of the prior statements. We need to know what is the case of the prosecutor, so we know what position we take in response in relation to these specific points. And specifically on the first point about named person, the matter is there are many names and we only have a first name. So if the prosecutor knows who they allege is part of that enterprise by first name and last name, it will benefit the debate in general, and it will alert the defense when they contact people with that first name, for example, to know what they need and have to do legally to tell these witnesses. And when considering to call some persons or put questions or prepare evidence, we need that specificity to be able to conduct efficiently our investigation and the presentation of our case. So our request remains the same, Your Honor. We believe these are material facts and
Okay.
the prosecutor should specify them.
Okay, thank you, Defense Counsel. All the points of view are exchanged. All the point of view are exchanged.
Yes, Your Honor, I believe it. So.
Okay. Yes. Okay. The panel has taken notes of your concerns, and we've heard the SPO, and we will deliberate on it. But for now, I would say I see no impediment to do the cross-examination of witness 10, and if it's necessary, we will come back on this specific point to deal with your concerns. Very well. Mr. Court Officer, can you bring us into a public session again?
We are in public session, Your Honor.
Very well. Before we begin with the cross-examination by the defense of witness 10, we will make an oral order, a short one, regarding the request made by the defense in an email dating of 1st of May, yesterday, at 7:47, which included the request to add a document to the list of items the defense intends to use with the witness 10. And we grant this request, seeing that it's a translation, an Albanian translation of a document which was already disclosed by the SPO on the 21st of September last year with ERN 063313 till 063314 RED 2, and this is disclosure package 85. The defense has notified all participants of its intention to use both the original and the Albanian translation, which was yet to be finalized, and the defense has disclosed it promptly at the earliest opportunity after receiving it. This concludes the panel's oral order. Then there is another point we would like to clarify, and that to clarify the following to the defense. Yes, it's not necessary for the accused to provide a waiver or a consent form if and when the accused wishes to be present via video link. It is sufficient that the defense informs the panel, the registry, and the participants through an email at the latest the day before the hearing if the accused will be participating via video link or will be present in the courtroom. Yeah? And the sooner we know it, the better it is, because that's, for organizational reasons, that's useful. And I recall the oral order we gave on the 29th of March of this year, and to be specific for the reference, that is page 833, line 7, till page 834 to line 8. And there we give some more details, but we hope that that will facilitate the procedure in this respect. Yeah. Very well, then there is a third point I would like to deal with, and that is a question of confirmation for the SPO. We received your filing 497 on the notification for the order of appearances for the third evidentiary block. And do we understand rightly from this filing that you do not intend to call for the month of May, the 19th of May, a witness? Madam
Yes,
President?
that's correct.
That's correct. So in that case, I foresee that we will not have a hearing on that day, but I propose that we do not cancel it yet in our agendas, because you never know what comes up. It's good to have always a spare day, but as soon as it's sure that we will not be using it, I will be informing everybody that we can cancel it from our agenda. Yeah? Very well. Then we have dealt with all the points we had before going into the testimony of the witness. As we did yesterday, the witness will be appearing via a video conference. Court officer, at the other side of the at the location where the witness is, could you please invite the witness to the courtroom and please introduce everyone who is in the room present alongside the witness? Thank you.
Your Honor, I can confirm that the witness is present in the reportation room with Mr. Dr. Fulton, together with his assigned duty counsel, Mr. Thomas Gillis, and myself, Senior Court Officer.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Welcome, Mr. Witness. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Yes, I can.
Well, and Mr. Shala, can you hear the witness? Can you hear the witness, Mr. Shala?
Yes, I can hear him very well.
And hear it. Thank you. Mr. Witness, how are you today?
Well, thank you.
Mr. Witness. We will continue today with the cross-examination by the defense team for Mr. Shala. I remind you that you are still under oath to tell the truth. Court officer, can you briefly bring us into private session, please?
We're in public session, Your Honours.
Thank you very much. Defense counsel, as you know, you will have the same time as has been given to the SPO, and that's a little bit more than 3 hours. So you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, Mr. Witness. I am Lito Cariolu, and I will be asking you some questions. Can you hear me, Mr. Witness?
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Peter Shala, who is the defendant in this case. This is going to be brief. I only have very few questions for you. Now, if we can please go right to the beginning of the evidence you gave us yesterday. You stated you were a guard at the Cook's Metal Factory. Is that correct?
Yes.
You showed us on the sketch you drew, and in photographs you were shown the booth where you kept shifts. Is that correct? Do you remember that?
Yes.
You also showed us the warehouse at the metal factory, correct?
Yes.
You told us that at the warehouse you were keeping the uniforms, right?
Yes.
I just wanted to know who was in charge of the warehouse.
Nasser Cucina was the person in charge.
Madam
I'm just going to now
Defense
move-
counsel, please.
Yes.
Will you be giving us the references to the citation, to the references of the reference from the transcript of yesterday?
Certainly, I can do that straight away. So the sketch was shown at page 23 of the provisional transcript of yesterday. I believe we don't have an Albanian translation as yet, and that was in lines 3 to 9. And page 25, page 23, apologies, lines 25 as well. I mean, the sketch was
shown, we discussed the sketch on several
course,
occasions, but I'm just giving one reference. And the witness showed us the warehouse, and that was at page 21 of the provisional transcript, lines 29 to 30. Sorry, apologies, these are page numbers. Page 21, 29, and 30.
Okay, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. So now, Mr. Witness, I'd like to move to a different topic, and perhaps we can go to private session.
You will explain us at the beginning of the private session what it is about?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. And allow me to remind you to talk slowly, just for our stenographer and interpretation. Thank you. Mr. Court Officer, can you bring us into private session, please?
We are in public session, Your Honours.
Defense Counsel, you have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Witness, I wanted to ask you, do you know of a gentleman called Pren Berisha?
Could you repeat the question, please? I didn't quite understand it.
I would like you to tell us if you know of a gentleman called Pren Berisha.
Yes, I do know him.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. How do you know him?
I know him because he was convicted in the Prizren prison, and he would also go in and out buying, purchasing foodstuffs for the prisoners.
Defense Counsel, can we take off the evidence from the screen?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Mr. Court Officer, thank you for bringing down the document.
And perhaps this is a good moment to go to a private session for a follow-up question.
Mr. Court Officer, can you bring us into private session, please? And then you will explain us why.
We are in public session, Your Honours.
Thank you. Madam Prosecutor, do you still have questions for the witness?
No further questions from our side. Thank you.
Very well. Victims' Counsel, are there questions from your side?
No, thank you, Your Honour.
Very well. And now, yeah, that is superfluous to ask on that side. Mr. Witness, there are no further questions from the side of the parties and Victims' Counsel. However, from the side of the panel, there are some more questions. And I will be putting them to you. They will help us to further clarify what you have been sharing with us yesterday and today. And I will kick off with some questions. Let me see. Mr. Witness, yesterday you talked about a sketch, and I will give the reference in that is page 1101, line 17. You talked about a building 1 as a sort of prison. Can you explain to the panel how the persons that would arrive at the headquarters of Koekes that were put in this building 1, how did they arrive at the headquarters?
The senior commanders would actually bring them in.
And how would they come in?
How they came to the logistics HQ, is that what you mean, Your Honor?
In terms of transportation.
Well, the commanders would actually collect them, as it were, from the various camps as suspects.
Would they come walking or by car, or would it always be different?
Yes, by car. They would go to the camps, gather them, and some would be brought in for mobilization purposes for the army, and then they would be questioned.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. And the persons that were brought in and were put in building 1, how did you recognize that they were, as you called them yesterday, suspects? How did you know that?
When they would question them, some would be let go, and others would be mobilized in the army.
When they would come in, could you see that they were suspects?
Well, I was a guard, so it makes sense that being at the gate, I was keeping guard. And I would be asking, where are you going? And they would be saying that I've been suspected of cooperating with Serbs, and I would say, okay, thank you, bye-bye.
Okay. And when they would come into the premises of the headquarters, would you recognize them? Could you recognize them? Would you know that they were suspects?
Yeah.
No. They would be brought in for mobilization purposes, and then they would be asking them questions in building number 1, in the rooms there, if they were suspected of that.
Clear to me. Thank you for that answer. But then I will become some more concrete. The persons who were, as you said, were collected from the camps and were brought in by car by the senior commanders, would they have their hands tied?
No, I never saw them with their hands tied.
I would like to refresh your memory, and I will call them up as a matter of procedure, but I will read out to you what you have said in that. But for the record, I will give the reference. People, when they would be brought in, would they have their hands tied?
Your Honor, it is quite possible that it might have been, and I've forgotten, because when they were brought in, sometimes they would be taken to the office by the commanders, and sometimes they would take them to Pavilion number 1. They would bring them in by car, and it is possible, as I said, that their hands were tied, but I've forgotten. But in Pavilion number 1, the hands were not tied.
Okay, but you have said this to the SPO, and you may now tell us that you have forgotten it. But even when I read it out to you, do you recall it, or is it still blurred?
I'm saying again, I might have seen him because by car they would not bring them directly to Pavilion 1, but to the offices, the commanders. So I could have possibly seen them, and they possibly had their hands tied, but they were in the cars and I did not see it, and it's possible that I told this to the prosecution. Let me be fair.
You did tell it to the prosecutor, there's no doubt about it, because it has been recorded as such. It's for me just not clear. I want to be sure what you remember from what you have said to the SPO. I owed you, or I owed the procedure a reference. So the Albanian version is page 15, lines 1 and 2, with regard to the question, and page 13, it's in the Albanian version, page 15, lines 5 to 8. And then, yes. Very well. I have one more question for now for you, Mr. Witness. Do you recall what ethnicity these so-called suspects would have? So the persons that would be brought to building 1, to what you said was a prison, kind of prison.
No, but there were people from various parts of Kosovo.
I will recall what you said in an SPO interview you gave. And that is 083537TEET, which part 2, page 3, lines 18 till 21, and in the Albanian version, it's page 5, lines 1 till 5. I will ask the court officer for the records to pull it up. I will read it out to you, Mr. Witness. And you say, and when you say, it's a question from the Specialist Prosecutor's Office, and when you say they questioned people who had worked for the Serbs or had given information to Serb police, do you mean people of Albanian ethnicity or other ethnicities? And then your...
Albanian. They were Albanian.
They're Albanian. And then your answer is Albanian. And then there is something in the translation which raised some questions. Albanian in everybody else, like Romas and others. And I will ask the interpretation booth if it's possible to look at the English version, line 21, and then the corresponding line, which is on page 5. I think it must be line 4 or 5. This word in, Albanians in everybody else. My question to the interpretation booth would be if you could clarify the word in English, if that has been what. And if
The Albanian version, line 4, says no for everybody, for Albanians, I mean, and for Roma and everybody else. So the corresponding line in English, the in, should be and.
On the spot. So, Mr. Witness, you say Albanians, the suspects were Albanians, but also other?
Yes, there were Romas as well.
Could you recall, can you recall others?
Yes, I do remember there were Romas as well.
And do you know of other ethnicities? Or other countries?
No. No.
Thank you for this clarification, Mr. Witness. I will now give the floor to one of my colleagues for further questions, and I might come back to you. I will give the floor to the judge at my left-hand side. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Presiding Judge. Good morning, Mr. Witness. I'm Judge Gilbert Beatty. I have a few questions for you. The first one is in relation to Zemsit Krasniqi. Do you remember if he was wearing civilian clothing?
Yes.
With regard, I go now to another questions on another topic. With regard to the people who were apparently detained at the Cookes Metal Factory, did you interact with those detainees in Building 1?
Yeah.
to a person detained in building 1?
That's correct.
In that same statement, page 15, lines 3 to 5, you said the overall condition in that building was very bad. Could you explain to us how bad was it? And what did you mean by the condition was very bad?
First of all, in terms of food, we didn't have much. There was not enough food. Sometimes they would bring food, sometimes they wouldn't. The conditions were very bad.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. I'm not speaking about your conditions as soldiers. I'm speaking about the conditions of the people who were apparently detained. So what you said seemed actually to be to concern those who were detained, and you say the overall condition was very bad of that building. By building, you meant, that's how I understood it, building 1. So I'm again asking the question, how bad was the condition of the people detained in building 1? Could you explain that to me?
Building number 1, the conditions were the same both for those persons there and for us. And I meant the food, because when we had something to eat, they would have something to eat. Some days we would have something to eat, and some days we wouldn't.
Okay, so from that I have 2 questions. If the conditions were the same, were the people detained apparently in building 1 eating together with you, the soldiers, in building 3?
No, the soldiers would bring it. I personally brought bread once with the commander. The other soldiers who replaced me, they would take the food to them. But as I said, there wasn't enough food to eat every day.
Okay, so now you're saying that actually you gave some bread to one of the people detained there.
Yes.
But in those lines 3 to 5, when you said the overall condition was very bad of that building, so what I understood is that the condition in building 1 was particularly bad. Otherwise, you would not have said the overall condition was very bad of that building. So was the condition in that building particularly bad? Or could you explain to me why did you say that to the SPO at that time?
Their conditions were worse because they were locked in the building and we were free to move. So the conditions were more or less the same for them and for us. But the difference was they were kept locked in there. They could not go out for a walk. So that's why the conditions were worse for those persons.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. I have now another question with regard to some protected witnesses. So I think, Mr. Court Officer, we will have to go back to private session.
We are in private session, Your Honours.
Mr. Witness, did you see people being detained in Building 1 being also mistreated?
No.
Okay. Did you know that they were mistreated?
No, but I did hear from the soldiers that they had been mistreated, but personally I didn't see them being mistreated.
So you mean that the people you heard from your colleagues or comrades soldiers in Kukes, that the people detained in Building 1 were mistreated? That's what you're telling me.
Yes.
Thank you.
We are in public session, Your Honours.
Thank you, Mr. Court Officer. Mr. Witness, we reached the end of your test. I see the SPO standing. Madam Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Yes, excuse me for interrupting, Presiding Judge. We have a request for clarification of the transcript, and maybe the witness could take off his headphones.
I prefer to do it, otherwise I prefer to escort the witness out. Madam Court Officer, could you escort the witness out? Please, Mr. Witness, you will be escorted out. Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Madam Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Just to be sure with regard to a terminology, on page 27 of the provisional transcript of today, line 25, it seems as if the witness has referred to pavilion number 1. He used this word pavilion before in other relations, and we would request whether we could clarify whether he means pavilion number 1 or building number 1.
Okay, I see the point you are making. I see the defense standing. Defense counsel, you have the floor.
We support the request for clarification because this is an issue that will come with different persons, witnesses. So pavilion, as opposed to building, gives everyone clarity. Thank you.
Yes. So it was page 27, and then could you assist me with the line?
Of course, page 27, line 25.
Yes.
It's the 5th word.
Yes, yes, yes. Because, yes. Very well. Madam Court Officer, could you please bring the witness back in? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Witness. Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Well, there is still one question for clarification with regard to what you said earlier when you were responding to a question of mine. We were discussing if I asked you if the people, the suspects, had their hands tied, and then you told us it's quite possible that it might have been, and I have forgotten. That's what you said. And then you continued, because when they were brought in, sometimes they would be taken to the office by the commanders. And sometimes they would take them to pavilion number 1. Could you clarify what you mean with pavilion number 1? where was it situated?
Pavilion 1 was near to Pavilion 4, about 15 or 20 meters apart.
If you would come in from the gate, on which side would it be situated? On the left or on the right side or in front of you?
Right.
Okay.
On the right side.
Do I understand well when you say Pavilion 1, you mean the building with the bars on the window?
Yes.
You also refer to it as Building 1, not Pavilion 1, but Building 1. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Has it been clarified sufficiently?
Yes, Your Honor, thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Witness. We have reached the end of your testimony, Mr. Witness. And I would like to thank you for the efforts you have put into giving this testimony, which I believe that will be helpful to the panel to to find the truth. So thank you very much.
Respect.
I remind you that you shall not discuss your testimony as given here in court with anybody. Do you understand that?
Yes, that's all right.
Very well. I thank you again, and I will now ask Madame Court Officer to escort you out, and that will be it for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Very well. We have ended the examination of this witness, witness 10. We can proceed with witness 11. That's also our intention. And I discussed with CMU, and we will be able to start at 12.
All rise.
Welcome back. We will proceed with the hearing of the testimony of witness 11. I would like to first check who is present, if there have been any changes.
Your Honor, same composition, but for Mr. Whiting.
I see it. Thank you. I see that the victims count is in the same composition, and here I see a change of seats, of sitting, and
We seat of seat, indeed, but not only of seat.
no,
I think
no. I see it.
Oh, I just have to say that we are here with Miss Francesca De Castro, an evidence review. Accepting her is the same composition of the team. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well. Court officer, in the location where the witness is, can you please bring in the witness? Meantime, Mr. Shala, can you hear me fine? I don't hear you, Mr. Shala.
Yes, very well. I hear you very well.
Your Honor, the notification of the microphone in the room is myself, and I'm Prosecutor.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Mr. Witness, good afternoon. It's just after 12.
Good afternoon.
To the specialist chambers. I note that you can hear me. Can you confirm that?
Yes.
Mr. Shala, can you hear the witness too?
Yes, I can hear him very well. Thank you.
Shala. Mr. Witness, how are you?
I am well, thank you.
Thank you. Today we will start with your testimony. Mr. Witness, let me briefly explain the protective measures that you have been granted for your testimony. You have been assigned a pseudonym, and it means that we will never mention your name, but we will always address you as Mr. Witness or Witness. In that way, the public does not know your name. We will have face and voice distortion for you, which means that no one outside the courtroom watching the broadcast can see your face or hear your real voice during the testimony. When you answer a question that will not reveal your identity, we will do so in open session, which means that the public can hear what is said in the courtroom. When you are asked to describe anything that relates specifically to you, or to mention facts that might reveal your identity, we will do so in a so-called private session. And that means that there is no broadcast and that no one outside the courtroom can hear what is said in the courtroom. If anything is said during an open session that may reveal your identity or will identify you, we will make sure that this information is protected. Your testimony will be broadcast with a delay, and we can remove any such information from the broadcast that will be seen and heard by the public. And also it will be taken out from the public transcript of the proceedings. Are the protective measures I just explained to you clear to you, Mr. Witness?
Yes.
Mr. Witness, you are called to testify before the specialist chambers in the case of the specialist prosecutor versus Peter Shala to assist the panel of judges to reach a verdict. After you have given your solemn declaration to tell the truth, you will be asked questions by the lawyers of the specialist prosecutor's office. Those are the people with the togas in purple. Yeah, you see them. And then you will be asked questions by the lawyers representing the victims participating in the proceedings. And then the defense counsel of Mr. Shala, with the togas partly in red. And also by the judges of this panel. I would like to provide you with some guidance for answering the questions that will be asked. Mr. Witness, please listen carefully to each question, and if you don't understand, feel free to ask for a question to be repeated. We want you to tell the truth and to tell us what you saw, what you heard, what you experienced yourself. And if you did not see or hear it yourself, please tell us, yeah, and explain how you got to know it. And you may not remember all the details, and this is perfectly fine. Do not guess, do not make things up. If you don't remember, just inform us and say, I don't know, I don't remember. Please answer the questions. If clarification is needed or more information is needed, you will be asked to give more information. Yeah? So keep focused on the questions. Did you understand, Mr. Witness, what I just told you?
Yes.
I'm going to give you also some practical advice for your testimony. Everything we say here, Mr. Witness, is translated and recorded. So it is important that you speak into the microphone, that you speak clearly, and that you speak at a slow pace in order for us to understand what you are saying, because it has to be interpreted by the interpreters. You should only start speaking when the person asking you a question has finished. So we should avoid that speakers are overlapping, because then it becomes impossible to interpret. When a question is asked, please wait 5 seconds and then give your answer. Yeah. This pause of 5 seconds is really important because it allows for the interpretation to be finished. If I raise my hand like this, please stop talking. And sometimes we may ask you to leave the room where you are together with the court officer if we need to discuss something regarding the content of your examination. If you have any questions, if you need a break, or you want to say something to the panel, please raise your hand. Then I will know that you want to speak, and I will give you the floor. Is that all clear for you?
Yes, it is.
Mr. Witness, I will now ask you to make your solemn declaration to tell the truth. And I remind you that it is an offense within the jurisdiction of the specialist chamber to give a false testimony. Is that clear to you?
Yes.
Madam Court Officer, can you please assist the witness with his solemn declaration to tell the truth? You can read now the text, Mr. Witness.
Conscious of the significance of my testimony and my legal responsibility, I solemnly declare that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and that I shall not withhold anything which has come to my knowledge.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. You are now under oath to tell the truth. And we can now begin with the testimony of witness 11, starting with the questioning by the Specialist Prosecutor's Office. Mr. Prosecutor, you have estimated 2.5 hours for your questioning of this witness. Please, if there are any changes, let the panel know. You have the floor.
Will do. Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. As you have just been
Good afternoon.
been judge, you have been granted protective measures. So whenever I need to ask you questions that the answer to which might be identifying, I will ask to go into private session. And that's what I'm about to do, because I will ask you some of your personal details. Your Honors, could we please move into private session?
Very well. Mr. Court Officer, could you bring us into private session, please?
We're in public session, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Court Officer. Mr. Prosecutor, please proceed.
Mr. Witness, during the war, were you ever a member of the Kosovo Liberation Army?
Yeah.
No.
Were you in Kosovo at the time when NATO began their bombing campaign in 1999?
Yes.
Did you remain in Kosovo until the end of the war, or did you at any point leave Kosovo?
Yes, I was there until the 27th of April, 1999. And that's when my family and I went to Albania.
Now, without providing any detail that could possibly reveal your identity, but could you tell the panel what prompted you and your family to leave Kosovo for Albania in April 1999?
Yes, there was pressure from the Serb paramilitaries, and we were forced to save ourselves and our families.
Where in Albania did you and your family go in April 1999?
We went to Kukas.
Your Honors, I would like to move into private session now for a few questions that go a bit more into the details of where the witness was staying. So I think it'd be safer to go into private.
Mr. Court Officer, can you bring us into private session, please?
We are in public session, Your Honours.
Mr. Prosecutor, please proceed.
Your Honours, my computer has locked and I no longer have the transcript in front of me. I just need to, I think, retype my password in.
Okay.
Be a second.
Please proceed. I hope it will not be a recurrent issue. If not, we call IT.
I'm sorry, Mr. Witness, I had a little technical problem which now is resolved. Mr. Witness, we're back in public session. We'll be moving in and out of it quite often, so this is when we are careful about what we say. Now, you told us that after you got in the car with the person we just discussed, you went to a kind of a factory, if I recall correctly. Now, I'd like to show to the witness a picture that was showed to him during one of his SPO interviews. And I'd like to have on the screen document with ERN 059341 to 059350. And I'd like the second page of the document to be shown to the witness.
And that is with a view to recognition?
Yes, Your Honours,
okay.
yes.
Very well. Mr. Court Officer, please proceed.
Could we zoom in to try to put the picture showed in the upper right corner, essentially the larger one, like central on the screen. Thank you very much. Yeah, that'll do. And just a tiny bit down so that the signature up top and the date are, that is perfect. Thank you very much. Mr. Witness, you told us you were brought to a place which looked a bit like a factory. Do you recognize the location showed in this picture now to you?
Yes. When I entered and when I left, I recognized it as this place.
So this is a picture that we showed to you on it says.
Yes, entrance, the main entrance.
Do I understand you correctly that this is the entrance of the place where you were brought after being after you left?
Yes.
Your Honor, I am done with this picture. We can remove it from the screen.
Thank you, Mr. Court Officer.
Mr. Witness, now, and I know these are not necessarily pleasant memories. I also know time has passed, but I'm going to need to ask you a bit of questions, a bit more in detail about the time you spent there. So, can you tell the panel again what happened as soon as you passed through that gate and you arrived at this location?
Mr. Witness, and let me remind you that we are in public session. Yeah, so be careful with any names you might be saying or any identifying information in your respect.
Yes. They brought me directly to a room, and I was in that room the whole time.
Before being put into that room, were you asked any questions before being put into that room?
No, nobody asked me anything. No questions were asked.
Mr. Witness, a lot of time has passed, and I would like to just check with you something that you said in a previous statement concerning your arrival there, just to make sure we get the events as correctly as possible.
Please proceed.
Could I please have on the screen SITF 000 20 018 to 20 028 red 3?
Mr. Prosecutor?
Yes.
For future references, please don't refer to any dates. You did not do it, but I just want to be sure that we are not doing it.
No, yeah. Thank you for the reminder, Your Honor. Now, the document, Mr. Witness, that I'm putting on the screen concerns some evidence you gave in the past. We're not going to say when or where. Just 1 second, Your Honor. So the Albanian version of the document, Your Honor, which I have failed to provide, the ERN is SITF 000 20 058 to 000 20 064. And I'd like to have page 32 in the English and pages 5 and 6 in the Albanian. And in fact, I would like page 31 in English, I'm sorry. So, there is in the past, Mr. Witness, you stated that upon your arrival, you were taken to this sort of HQ. You said, they put me in an office for about 30 minutes or so. And then, in the English journal, we go to page 32. Yes, first I was kept in the office, and then I was moved somewhere else, which, from this testing, we understand somewhere else being the place where you then remained and stayed. Now, do you recall being taken to an office before being moved to this place that you were, briefly to an office before being moved to this place that you were telling us about?
I apologize. This office was at the entrance near the gate where my shoelaces were taken away, and from there they took me to the room where I stayed the whole time.
Thanks, Mr. Witness. And again, I might occasionally, again, ask you to clarify things that that might differ from what you stated in the past, because a lot of time has passed, and so we're just trying to get the information as accurately as possible. Do you recall if, while in the room and your shoelaces were removed, whether you were asked any question at that time?
No, they didn't ask any question at that time.
Now, you told us that after this brief passage in the room near the entrance, you were moved to another room. Now, from the entrance that you have identified, from the gate that you have identified in that pictures that I just showed you, to get to the room where you were then kept, would you go to the right, to the left, straight? Do you remember in which direction this room was from as you entered the gate?
The location was on the left. The room was on the left from the gate.
Now,
Mr. Prosecutor, can we take the statements down?
yes.
Okay, very well. Mr. Court Officer, can you pull them down? Thank you. Please proceed.
Now, so you're stating that as you entered, the building was on your left. So you entered the gate, and which direction did you take? Sorry, could you repeat?
It was straight, but the room was on the left as you enter the gate.
Your Honors, could I please ask the court officer to have on the screen, sorry, Mr. Witness, 1 second.
Sorry for this, but yes, we can continue.
in 2019 was you go through the entrance, you walk a little bit, and then you turn slightly to the right. And then you go into the building where the room was. So a little bit to the right after the gate, right? So it was on the left. So you go through the main gate and it was on the left. Now, at page 5, we managed to clarify the issue. And I told you, because at the time, in 2019, you stated it was to the right of the gate as you enter. And then you stated, so you turn right, and then the building is on the left. Now,
We are at page 5 now.
yes, Your Honors, we are page 5, and we are in lines 7 to 11 of page
Just
5.
for the court officer to
Yes,
bring us there.
I'm sorry. Yeah, absolutely. So you stated that we after some trying to clarify the location, you stated that as you enter, you turn right, and then the building is on the left. Does that make sense to you with respect to the location of this building we were talking about?
To tell you the truth, from the entrance, there was a yard. We walked a bit to the right, and then opposite, on the left, was the room where they brought me.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. This is clear to me now.
Can we pull the statements down?
Yes, Your Honor, we can.
Thank you.
Do you remember whether this building had one or more stories, floors?
As far as I remember, from the moment I entered it, it was a one-story building.
Now, who led you into this building? Was it the same people who had asked you to follow them at the camp, or was it somebody else?
Please don't say names here.
No, it was a civilian person who led me to this door.
So you told us how you were led to a door. Now, could you describe the interior of the building after you entered the door?
There was a small corridor and one room.
Was this room to the left or straight or to the right of that corridor? So once you entered, where was the room?
As you enter, the door to this room was on the left.
And once you entered this room on the left, is that the place where you stayed during the time you spent at the factory?
Yes, the whole time.
How long did you stay in that room, Mr. Witness?
Until Kosovo was freed and I was released. I don't remember, it was about a month and 5 days, something like that.
Now, you described how it was this one-story building that you entered, it was a corridor, it was this room to the left. That's the room where you stayed for about a month. Could you describe to the panel what you recall about this room? Its layout, how big it was, any detail that you remember about that room?
The room had a window. It was 4 by 4 meters or 4 by 3.5 meters with concrete floor.
The door that led to the room from the corridor, was it closed after you entered the room? Was it a locked room once you were inside?
Yes, the room was locked.
Your Honor, I would like to show a picture to the witness, a photograph. And in this regard, I'd like to have the document with ERN 108852 to 108857 read. Show to the witness, please.
For which purposes?
Showing picture to asking questions about the picture, the photograph that was shown to him during the previous interview.
Very well. And we can do that in public?
Yes, correct,
Okay.
Your Honor.
Very well.
And
Thank
I'd
you.
like to have page 5 of that document.
Mr. Court Officer, thank you for bringing it up. Mr. Prosecutor, we are a few minutes before 1, just to call your attention. Thank you.
And I understand this picture is not being broadcast.
Microphone for the prosecutor.
Picture is not broadcast to the public, correct, Your Honor?
No, it should not be,
Yeah.
as following our indications on this, in this respect, and your request.
Mr. Witness, this picture is a bit dark. Mr. Court Officer, could you please zoom it just a couple of notches up? No, I mean like just enlarge it a little bit. Yeah, thank you very much. Now, this one-story building in this photograph, Mr. Witness, does it look familiar to you? Are you able to tell the panel whether you've seen this building before?
Your Honor, this is the court officer. I'm not sure if you can hear us. Yes, we had an interruption in the audio and video, so we could not hear or see.
do you recall from the image is still blurred? We will.
We hear you now clear, but on the still image, the evidence monitor displayed.
Okay, now we see you again without blur. From where, that could be a difficult question, but from where, what was the last thing you recall that, or you can see that we discussed?
I think the prosecutor was just starting to ask about the picture.
Okay. Mr. Prosecutor, can you please ask?
Your Honor, I was wondering, and this I ask, I be an exception perhaps, and perhaps we could do it after the break. We are in fact in possession of a better picture, which was in the presentation queue with the previous witness, and I, my bad, I did not include that picture. It's the same picture, the same building, it's just in color and be less dark. Whether we could be allowed to show that picture to the witness, perhaps after the break, if, of course, asking also whether the defense would have any objection to that.
I will give the floor to the defense if there's any objection to using a clearer picture than this one, and it's the picture that has been used in the presentation queue.
No objection, absolutely no objection.
Thank you. Yeah. And we grant the request, and we can do that after.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Then your proposal would be to you stop your examination now, and then we do an update of the queue of presentation of evidence or documents to be used with this witness, and then we can proceed after too with this.
That would be great. Thank you,
Yes.
Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Witness, we will now take a break till 2:30, 1.5 hour break. And then we will continue, the SPO will continue with its examination. Yeah? I will now ask Madame Court Officer to usher you out the room. And I wish you a good lunch, and we see each other back after lunch. Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Is there anything before lunch the SPO would like to raise with the panel?
No, Your Honor.
No. Victims' Counsel?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Defense Counsel?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Very well. Then we will see each other again at 2:30. The hearing is adjourned.
All rise. All rise.
Please be seated. Welcome back. Let me see if there's a change of the composition of the teams. For the SPO, I see a no, not for the victims, counsel, and not for the defense counsel. Very well, and Mr. Shala is present too via the video link. Can you hear me, Mr. Shala?
Yes, Your Honor, I can hear you very well.
That is good. Yes, we can continue with the cross-examination, with the examination in chief by the Specialist Prosecutor's Office. I will ask the court officer if she can bring in the witness into the room, please. Welcome back, Mr. Witness. Can you hear me fine?
Yes, I can hear you well, thank you.
And Mr. Shala, could you hear the voice of the witness?
Yes, very well.
And we may proceed. And for your information, Mr. Witness, we are now in public session, so please be careful not to share any identifying information with regard to yourself. I will give now the floor to the Specialist Prosecutor's Office, to Mr. Prosecutor. You have the floor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. So before we broke off for lunch, I was going to show you a picture, and I wanted to ask you a few questions about the picture. We now have a better version of the same picture, which I would like, with the court's permission, to have on the screen. And the year end of this picture is 074390 to 074391. And I'd like the first page to be showed to the witness, please, of this document.
Please proceed, Mr. Court Officer.
Could you maybe zoom it one notch up? Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Witness, can you see the picture, the picture of a building on your screen at this moment?
Yes.
Does this building look familiar to you? Do you recognize it?
Yes, I recognize it.
What is this building?
This building is the one with the first room I was in. I was in the first room.
So, if I understand you correctly, is this the building where you were brought after you were taken to the metal factory?
No, it was inside. It was inside there.
So you were kept in a room inside this building?
Yes, I think so. I think so.
Thank you. Now, I don't know if you would be able to, considering that there is a certain angle of this picture, and not all of it is visible, but from the part of this building that is visible in this picture, do you think that, can you see the entrance, or at least the side on which the entrance to this building was located? And if so, perhaps I would ask the court officer to provide you with a pen or a marker, and you could, if you see the entrance, you could circle it with the pen.
So I see you, Madam Court Officer, you have a hard copy of the picture and you have provided that to the witness together with a pencil, a blue pencil. Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, I see that the building has made a marking on the picture.
The witness has made a marking on the building on, I would say, the right-hand side after the second window at the right-hand side. This is the description I can give in wording, and it will be.
We intend to tender this into evidence, Your Honor.
Yeah, and it will be uploaded into legal workflow later on. Yes, please proceed.
And just to clarify, Mr. Witness, so earlier you told us that there was a door, the entrance of this building, and then there was a corridor, and the room where you were held was on the left-hand side of that corridor. So what you've marked now is the door after which there was that corridor. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, do you know, was there a guard posted outside the entrance door while you were being detained?
Yes.
And this may sound an obvious question to you, but how do you know that there was a guard posted outside that door?
That's because when we needed water, he would open the door for us to actually get the water.
Were you free to come and go from the room inside that building, Mr. Witness? Or did you have to ask the guard?
No, we had to ask the guard, and the guard would unlock the door.
Now, we're still in public session, and you've now described for us the place where you were held. We've showed you a picture of it, and I'm now going to move on to asking you about other people who may have been with you in that room. I want to ask you a couple of questions in public session, so please do not reveal the identity of any of them. We'll then move into private session for further details. So now my question is, when you arrived there, and you were brought into that building, were there other people in the room where you were held?
Yes.
Do you recall approximately how many?
Approximately 7 to 8 persons. I can't remember exactly, but approximately that is.
And Your Honors, I'm afraid this is probably as far as I can go in public session. I'm now going to have to ask the court to go into private session.
Thank you, Mr. Prosecutor.
And the picture of Your Honor can be... And we can also take down the picture from the screen.
Noted, Mr. Court Officer, you can bring down the picture. And could you also bring us into private session for continuation of the examination?
We are in private session, Your Honours.
Thank you, Mr. Court Officer. Please proceed, Mr. Prosecutor.
So, witness, we are now in private session. So now identities, details can be shared. Of any of them.
Yes, I knew 3 people.
And who were these 3 people that you knew?
They were Roma musicians. And based on our own wedding traditions, they used to go around with their music, and that's how I knew them.
Do you know where they came from? Were they from Kosovo? Your Honors, I would like to show a picture to the witness, a photograph depicting certain individuals and asking questions about it. With the court sleeve, I would like the court's officer to put on the screen 059341 to 059350.
Please proceed, Mr. Court Officer.
And I would like the document to be showed on page 8, please. Mr. Witness, do you recognize the person who's depicted in this photograph?
Yes.
Can you tell the court who this person is?
He is one of the 2 brothers. He's the younger one.
Is it one of the people that you just told the court were musicians?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm done with the picture. I think we can take it off the screen.
Thank you, Mr. Court Officer.
So we've now ascertained that of the people who were detained with you, you recognize 3 Roma musicians. During the time that you were detained in that room with the people you've discussed, did you come to notice or know if there were any other rooms in that building where other people were held?
I didn't notice. I don't know. I didn't see any other rooms.
Thank you. Your Honors, At this time, I would like to go back into public session, please. I think it's safe to do so.
Thank you. And we can take the documents down?
We can, and I'll try to do better in asking to...
Yes. Mr. Court Officer, can you bring us into public session, please?
We're in public session, Your Honours.
Thank you, Mr. Court Officer. Mr. Witness, we are back in public session. Yes, for your information. So be careful with what you say. Mr. Prosecutor, you have the floor again.
Thank you, Your Honor. And so, Mr. Witness, you hopefully would be pleased to hear that we're doing well, and I'm past half of my questions. Are you tired, Mr. Witness? Or are you okay to continue?
I would like to continue.
Thank you. We appreciate that. But perhaps if at any time you feel the need for a break, you may flag that to the court.
Yeah. Mr. Witness, if you need a break or you would prefer to continue at a later stage, that is to say tomorrow, we can also do that.
We can continue today.
Mr. Prosecutor.
Now that we have discussed the place that you were detained in, the people that you were detained with, I'd like to discuss the conditions of your detention and that of the people who were detained with you. My first question is, where did you and the other detainees in their room sleep?
On the floor. We slept on the floor.
Which material was the floor made of?
Concrete. And we had thin mattresses.
Can you be more precise of, can you describe how these mattresses were?
These were thin mattresses made of sponge, and we also had blankets.
Now, you told us earlier that to go out of their room, you had to, for example, to get water, you had to ask the guard. Could you, for instance, go out to exercise a bit, or stretch your legs, or take some fresh air during the month that you were kept in their room?
No, we would just go out to get some water and then return to the room.
Now, Do you recall if among the people detained with you, were there people who were made to go out of the room for any other reason apart from the toilet or refilling your water canteens?
No, apart from the occasions when they would take them for interrogation.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask you questions about these interrogations shortly. Before I do so, do you recall if anybody was let out of the room to do work?
Yes. The Roma brothers would go out to do work.
Did they ever say anything, make any comment, share any detail about the work they were made to do?
No, they would clean the courtyard and then would come back to the room.
How do you know they would be cleaning the courtyard? How did you learn that?
Well, they would tell us this upon their return to the building.
Mr. Prosecutor, in line 81, paragraph 11, you made mention of the toilet. A quick search from my part didn't...
Apologies, Your Honor. My mistake.
Maybe you could ask that anyway.
Mr. Witness, could you leave the room where you were detained if you had to go to the toilet?
Yes. Whenever we needed to go to the toilet, we did.
Did you have to ask permission to the guard to do so?
Yes.
Mr. Witness, did you witness any type of mistreatments in the room where you were detained?
Yes.
Could you describe for the court the type of mistreatments that you personally witnessed?
The Roma brothers were beaten the most with rubber batons. Personally, I was beaten only once.
Who carried out these beatings? Do you recall?
We could not see. We were facing the wall and were unable to see who was beating us.
Mr. Prosecutor, I would like to go for maybe a short moment or maybe longer into private session to discuss something. Mr. Court Officer, can you bring us into private session, please?
We are in private session, Your Honours.
Thank you, Mr. Court Officer. We are mentioning that they are brothers, and in your pre-trial brief, the fact that they are brothers is redacted. So we were just wondering, just to be sure, if it's information we want to share.
Yeah, Your Honor, like maybe there was an oversight on our side, and we will look into the public redacted version of the trial brief that we have filed to see if we have left any redactions that should not be left there. These people are not. Just a second. They're not witnesses in this case, nor do they benefit from any protective measures. So we don't see a reason to redact that information at this stage.
That clarifies, but then at least we have made it sure. Good. Any comments from the other party and participant? No. Good. Mr. Court Officer, can you bring us into private session again? Into public session again? Thank you.
We are in public session, Your Honours.
Thank you. Mr. Prosecutor, please proceed.
No, you said that told the court the Roma brothers were beaten. Earlier, you also told us that when they came back from their work, they would tell us what they did. Did they ever mention any, do you know if they were ever mistreated, if they were mistreated while they were outside the room as well?
No, I didn't notice anything myself.
Now, you told us that you were beaten once, and I will want to ask you some questions about that. Before we get to the mistreatments that you suffered, I'd like to ask you, was anyone else among the people who were detained with you beaten?
All of us who were there in the room were beaten one by one without any discrimination.
And are you talking about beatings that took place inside the detention room?
Yes.
Now, earlier, you mentioned interrogations. And I'd like you to ask you a few questions about that. So, were people...
Mr. Prosecutor.
Reference.
Yes, yes, thank you.
I don't have it handy. I will provide it as soon as practical,
Yes.
Your Honor.
Yes.
So, to your knowledge, where did these interrogations take place? Inside the room or outside the room?
Outside the room, I don't know where.
Were you taken outside the room for interrogation?
Yes, only once.
Who else among the people that we have discussed today was taken out for interrogation?
Yes, they would take us from the room and bring us to somewhere else.
Now, do you remember, we've discussed, you provided us with the details on the identity of some of the people who were detained with you. Do you recall if any of the people we've discussed today were taken out for interrogation?
Yes.
Do you remember who?
We are in public session, Your Honors.
Thank you, Mr. Court Officer. Welcome back, Mr. Witness, and thank you for your patience. We have had a small interruption. I will give the floor now back to Mr. Prosecutor, and I will leave it to him if we have to go back into private session, because we were there when we interrupted the hearing, or that you want to remain in public session.
It's always a bit of a difficult choice between publicity but I think the safety of the witnesses should come first. So I will ask at least a couple of follow-up questions still in private session.
Very well, then we will go back into a private session.
Yeah.
Mr. Court Officer, could you bring us into a private session? And we will have 10 minutes more till 10 minutes past 4.
Mr. Witness, you have described people being beaten in the room, people being taken away, brought back, shaking, having signs of beatings. How did you feel as a consequence of all this violence you were witnessing against the people who were detained with you?
Well, obviously I felt frightened. I felt frightened. I mean, what was going to happen to me? I just didn't know what had happened to them or what would happen to me. So I was frightened sufficiently.
maybe now this is the time to talk about what happened to you, Mr. Witness. Tell us about the time when you yourself were mistreated, as you mentioned earlier on during your testimony. And Your Honors, I think we might do this in public session.
Thank you, Mr. Prosecutor. Mr. Court Officer, can you bring us into public session, please?
We are in public session, Your Honors.
Thank you, Mr. Court Officer. Please proceed, Mr. Prosecutor.
Mr. Witness, I will repeat the question now. We are in public session, but I don't think that by you telling the court the mistreatments that you receive will be identifying. So, as I was saying, can you tell the court about the time that you were mistreated? First of all, what did this happen?
It happened twice during the daytime. Once by a rubber baton, and I didn't see who it was, and one actually hit me in the right eye, and that really hurt. It hurt big time, and it ached a lot. So it was in the room that I was mistreated.
Did this happen on the same occasion, the rubber baton and being hit in the eye, or did it happen on different days of your detention?
In different days. It was in different days. Within 3 to 4 days, that is.
So I'm now going to ask you about the first time that it happened. Do you recall if the first time was the time you were struck in the eye or the time you were struck with the baton?
It was the one with the rubber baton. That was the first time. And the second time was being punched in the eye.
So in which part of your body were you stricken with the rubber baton?
On the right shoulder.
Was it a hard blow?
It was just one blow.
Did you feel it?
Yes, I felt it. It felt like a dream.
Did it have any consequence apart from the moment where you're stricken? Did it keep hurting? Did it have any other consequences on your physical integrity?
Yes, I felt pain for about 2 to 3 days.
Now, were you able to identify the person who struck you with the rubber baton?
No, because we were facing the wall, so I was facing the wall.
Let's now talk about the other incident where you were mistreated, which you told the court happened 3 or 4 days apart from the previous one, when you were struck in your eye. Can you tell us, the court, what you remember of that incident?
It was morning time. I don't know whether it was around 9 or 10. 3 people came in civilian clothing, and we lowered our heads so that we wouldn't be able to see who they were. And I don't really know, because my head was lowered, but then all of a sudden there was a stronger punching in my eye. It was a hard blow, and then I don't know anything else. I didn't see anything else.
Before or after you were hit, do you recall if these people said anything, asked any questions?
No, we only heard their voices and them saying spies, traitors.
Who were they saying spies and traitors to?
I'm sure to all of us who were present.
Do you recall if other people were beaten that day in addition to you?
Everybody was beaten, but in truth I couldn't actually put my head up to see.
Mr. Witness, do you feel that you can still continue with this examination?
Yes.
Did this punch on your eye, did it cause any bruising, any physical damage aside from you not being able to see, as you just told the panel?
Yes, my eye was bruised and it was sore, and there was some bleeding from my eye as well.
Now, did that punch cause any consequences that went beyond in time, beyond the pain in the moment? Did you have any longer lasting damage as a consequence of that blow that you suffered?
Both now and then I tear up and tears come out of that eye. So there are repercussions even to this day, but again the connection broke off, Your Honor. Interpreter's note.
Mr. Prosecutor, I propose that you take the same procedure as you did before, to read out what has been translated.
I will do that. Mr.
Thank
Witness, I'm sorry, apparently there was a technical glitch, so I will reread your answer and tell us if anything is missing. What we heard is that both now and then I tear up and tears come out of that eye. So there are repercussions even to this day. Is your answer complete the way I read to you, or did you say anything else that we didn't catch?
No, that was it. That was it, what you heard already.
Very well.
Now, do you recall any other instance of, for example, did anybody ever order the detainees? Was any other type of violence, in addition to that you've described to us, ever perpetrated against you and the other detainees in their room?
Yes, there was another mistreatment in the room. One who was beaten up, and other than that, there weren't any problems.
Did anybody come into the room ever and ordering you to do things to each other?
Yes.
Could you tell us what you were made to do?
We were forced to slap each other as much as possible, as hard as possible.
Who forced you to do so? Do you recall that, Mr. Witness?
Two people came in civilian clothing, and they ordered us to slap each other.
Your Honors, I understand that we have until 10 minutes past 4.
You have, if you want to need it, yes, you have.
Yeah. I also understand that perhaps I have about 15 minutes left on my time, I don't know, give or take. I wanted to tell the court that I might need maybe 10 minutes longer than that to finish my examination.
That we are not a grocery shop, so it doesn't go by the ounce, of course, and that the same goes,
but
of course.
At the same time, if this is agreeable, because I would get into a new area of examination, which I would not want to break off, if we could perhaps finish here, and I would not take advantage of the extra 10 minutes, and I'd continue tomorrow, and I would be able to finish within 20-25 minutes from when I start.
We can proceed in that way, and also for other considerations, that it has been a long day of examination. So I think it's good to stop here and then to continue tomorrow. Mr. Witness, we are going to adjourn the hearing for today, and then we will continue with the questioning by the Specialist Prosecutor's Office tomorrow, starting at 9:30. I would like to thank you for your time, Mr. Witness, today. It has been a challenging day. I hope you can get some rest this afternoon and this evening. And then we will see you back tomorrow morning. And I remind you that you should not discuss your statement you have been giving in this courtroom with anybody. Yeah. Thank you very much. And Madam Court Officer will accompany you. Thank you.
I will make the round and come to you, Mr. Prosecutor. Is there something the SPO would like to raise with the panel?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Very well. Victims' Counsel, would you like to raise anything with us?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Defense, I saw you standing. Defense Counsel, please, you have the floor.
Thank you. Just to correct something on the transcript, if we have the opportunity, at page 92 of today's transcript,
Yes.
line 5, it was mentioned Mr. Shala instead of Mr. Witness. It's a slight discrepancy, but worth mentioning.
Let me see. So we go to 92. Could you repeat the line for me, sorry?
5.
Line 5. In the transcript, indeed, it's written Mr. Shala, and it was directed to the witness. That's on record now. Very well. Anything else you would like to raise with the panel?
No, thank you very much, Your Honor. Thank you.
Right. Very well. Then I thank again our stenographer and interpreters and the security. And we will adjourn. We see each other tomorrow at 9:30. Thank you.
All rise.